Hi, Kushida. Here she is.
Am I audible?
Yes, you are. Thank you.
So, good afternoon to all participants from Bangladesh and good evening to Professor Dr. Malisa Forbes. I'm Khushida, a proud member of Pranobonto Bangladesh. Our Pranobonto Bangladesh is a youth-led non-profit organization working to build a healthier and more conscious society. At present, our primary focus is on mental health and overall wellness. Through awareness campaign and active youth engagement, we aim to break the stigma surrounding mental health and promote positive changes around Bangladesh. Now, I'm delighted to pass the floor to one of our junior sisters, Tanisha from Pranobonto Bangladesh. Tanisha, are you there?
Yes, Apu. Can you hear me?
Yes, thank
Yes.
you.
Okay, so the name of the song is Dhana Dhana Pushpe Bhara and it is written by Shujendralal Rai. So here you go. Okay. ধন ধান্য পুষ্প ভরা আমাদের এই বসুন্ধরা তাহার মাঝে আছে দেশ এক সকল দেশের সেরা ও সে স্বপ্ন দিয়ে তৈরি সে দেশ স্মৃতি দিয়ে ঘেরা এমন দেশটি কোথাও খুঁজে পাবে না গো তুমি ও সে সকল দেশের রানী সেজে আমার জন্মভূমি সে যে আমার জন্মভূমি সে যে আমার জন্মভূমি চন্দ্র সূর্য গ্রহ তারা কোথায় উজ্জ্বল এমন ধারা কোথায় এমন খেলে তরি এমন কালো মেঘে তার পাখির ডাকে ঘুমিয়ে উঠি পাখির ডাকে জেগে এমন দেশটি কোথাও খুঁজে পাবে না কো তুমি ও সে সকল দেশের রানী সেজে আমার জন্মভূমি সে যে আমার জন্মভূমি সে যে আমার জন্মভূমি এত স্নিগ্ধ নদী কাহার কোথায় এমন ধূম্র পাহাড় কোথায় এমন হরিত ক্ষেত্র আকাশ তলে মিশে এমন ধানের উপর ঢেউ খেলে যায় বাতাস কাহার দেশে এমন দেশটি কোথাও খুঁজে পাবে না গো তুমি ও সে সকল দেশের রানী সেজে আমার জন্মভূমি সে যে আমার জন্মভূমি সে যে আমার জন্মভূমি পুষ্পে পুষ্পে ভরা সাখী কুঞ্জে কুঞ্জে গাহে পাখি গুঞ্জরিয়া আসে অলি পুঞ্জে পুঞ্জে ধেয়ে তারা ফুলের উপর ঘুমিয়ে পড়ে ফুলের মধু খেয়ে এমন দেশটি কোথাও খুঁজে পাবে না গো তুমি ও সে সকল দেশের রানী সেজে আমার জন্মভূমি সে যে আমার জন্মভূমি সে যে আমার জন্মভূমি ভাইয়ের মায়ের এত স্নেহ কোথায় গেলে পাবে কেহ তোমার তোমার চরণ দুটি পক্ষে আমার ধরি আমার এই দেশেতেই জন্ম যেন এই দেশেতেই মরি, এমন দেশটি কোথাও খুঁজে পাবে না গো তুমি, বসে সকল দেশের রানী সেজে আমার জন্মভূমি, সে যে আমার জন্মভূমি, সে যে আমার জন্মভূমি। থ্যাংক ইউ।
Thank you,
And
Tanisha.
it is a very excellent song, and she's like one of our very quite young member. She's only grade 9, and this song is very represent our Bangladeshi culture. Uh, it's a like big story behind this song, so I will share one day with you. So
Thank you.
that
Thank you for that background information, Sifat. And thank you, Tanisha, for that beautiful singing. I really, really enjoyed it. Thank you so much for sharing that with us. What a beautiful way to start.
থ্যাংক ইউ।
Lovely. So I'm so
yes,
excited to be here with you this afternoon. Sifat, did you want to say something?
Khurshida want to introduce you, then pass the floor to you. Yes,
Okay,
Khurshida.
sure. Please do go ahead. Thank you.
So Khurshida, you are here? Yes, you can continue, Khurshida.
Okay. Okay, first of all, I want to thank Tanisha again for her soothing performance of Dhonno Dhanne. And let me add extra information. The Dhonno Dhanne song is written by Rabindranath Tagore, who is also the writer of our national song. So yeah, that was an extra information. So let us welcome her again. At this moment, it's also my honor to introduce our uh, guest, a special guest, Professor Dr. Melissa Forbes. And let me introduce her a little bit. She is an associate professor at contemporary singing at the University of Southern Queensland and a Churchill Fellow and Senior Fellow of the Higher Education Academy, UK. And also, I'm sorry for any kind of pronunciation
That's
mistake.
okay. You're doing very well.
Okay. She holds a PhD in contemporary singing from the Queensland Conservatorium, and her research focus on the role of singing in health, well-being, and community connection. And also, she is an expert in jazz singing. I think it would be jazz, voice okay, I don't know how to pronounce this. Sorry for that. And also collaborative learning. And she also leads projects using singing to support people with Parkinson's disease and also enhance social health. Moreover, she is the author of over 30 publications on music, well-being, and leadership. Okay. And also, I'm passing the floor to Dr. Professor Melissa Forbes.
Thank you, Khurshida.
Yes, now let's to Professor Dr. Melissa Forbes.
Thank you so
Thank you.
much.
Over
Thank
to
you.
you.
Thank you very much. It's lovely to be here on your afternoon, my evening. Thank you for the beautiful introduction and for the beautiful singing and for that really fascinating insight into some Bengali culture with that song. I really, really loved that. That was very special for me. Thank you. It's just my real honor to be with such an exciting, energized, and motivated group of young people. I'm very, very excited about the work that you're doing and the vision that you have for the future. And it's really exciting to me that you're interested in my topic, which is this transformative power of singing and making music for our social health. I know that you have a real focus on mental health at the moment, so this is a really appropriate topic for us to be discussing. So I wanted to start with a bit of a thought experiment. So I just want you to sit and think about this. Imagine there's a new miracle medicine. It's a breakthrough intervention. It's been heralded as something that's revolutionary. because it has such wide-ranging positive effects. This breakthrough intervention increases feel-good hormones like oxytocin and serotonin. It reduces the stress hormone, cortisol. It helps people to regulate their emotions. It builds psychological resilience. It activates our parasympathetic nervous system. It improves lung function and cardiovascular health. It creates deep social connections, and it strengthens community bonds. Would you be interested in such an intervention for your community work? Of course, I'm not referring to a pill or a miracle drug or a medical treatment. I'm talking about the simple act of singing and making music together. We can gain all of those benefits that I just listed. It can improve our health and well-being in countless ways. And that's something that's been a part of Bengali culture for thousands of years. So before we really get into the detail of this presentation, I wanted to unpack for you a couple of the key terms that I will be using, some definitions. The first one is participatory music. This means music making by, with, and for communities. It's not just performed for people to listen. Everybody is an active participant. They're not an audience member. So you might think of village celebrations or community festivals or family gatherings where everyone joins in singing, clapping, dancing, moving together. The focus is on participation and inclusion, not on performance. So that's participatory music. The other term I wanted to discuss for you or define is this important term, social health. And this refers to the quantity and quality of our relationships, our sense of belonging, and feeling meaningfully connected to others in our communities. So just like physical health and mental health, social health is about how connected and supported we feel. Poor social health, isolation, loneliness, disconnection can be just as harmful as smoking or obesity. So when we combine participatory music making or group singing with social health, we're looking at how making music together can strengthen our connections with each other and build healthier, more resilient communities. I like to start my presentation with some myth busting. So this idea of our perception versus the reality. So myth number one that I want to bust is that music is only for the talented few. In many people's minds, music belongs to those with formal training. So those who've studied classical music with a guru or master, or those who have perfect pitch, or those who are supposedly naturally talented. So according to this myth, if you can't sing like Momtaz or play like Rahman, you should just listen. And the reality is that this is actually a historical accident. Throughout most of human history, and still today in much of your culture, music is something that everybody participates in. So let's think about this. In your community, do people ask permission to join in, say, a wedding celebration, or do they just celebrate? Do they ask permission to participate in a festival where there might be some singing and dancing, or do they just participate? Everybody sings and everybody participates in these types of contexts. And so we're really focusing on people who are in the community making music together and the health benefits of that, rather than somebody who might be standing on a stage and performing at an audience. Myth number two that I want to bust is that traditional music is dying among young people. And I think this is probably a concern not only in your country, but in many countries, particularly with the rise of technology and artificial intelligence. There is a concern that young people aren't in touch with the older aspects of their culture. But I think we can see from the beautiful singing that Tanisha did at the start that we are still in touch with some really important aspects of our culture. So that was actually a perfect introduction and a great way to bust this myth. And the final myth that I want to debunk is that community development, which is what you are all interested in, and things like music don't really go together. Well, the reality is that music is actually one of the most powerful community development tools that we have. It builds social cohesion, it develops leadership skills, it can address mental health challenges, it builds resilience in our communities. And these are all things that Pranobonto Bangladesh is really focused on. So let's have a little bit of a quick tour through some of the science around why making music, participatory music, or singing together is so good for us. When people make music together in community, we are engaging in low stakes but very high connection activities. So in normal social situations, you have to make conversation, you have to remember someone's name, you have to remember what they told you. Sometimes we might get a little bit worried about saying the right thing. But when we sing together, we can create a real sense of intimacy without all that social pressure. And I want to share with you that research has identified 562 distinct benefits of musical participation. 562. And these benefits operate at the psychological level, the biological level, the behavioural level, and at the social level. So, like I've mentioned, social bonding is a really important effect of group singing. It creates experiences that rapidly build intimacy without social pressure. In terms of our biology, our heart rates can synchronize, can actually start beating at the same time within minutes of people starting to sing together, while stress hormones decrease and feel-good hormones increase. In terms of our emotion, music provides safe spaces for emotional expression, catharsis, and building resilience. And then cultural connection. Our songs preserve knowledge, stories, and history while strengthening our cultural identity and our pride in who we are. So I wanted to share a couple of examples of this idea of music as medicine. So in communities across South Asia, youth suicide rates are rising alarmingly. And I think that was one of the reasons that CFAT actually got in contact with me originally. Traditional approaches to this issue often focus on therapeutic approaches, say individual therapy or group counselling, or perhaps pharmaceutical interventions, so drug prescriptions, for example. But participatory music can also play a role here in helping to address people who feel socially isolated and disconnected. And these things can often underlie mental health struggles. So there have been many research studies that demonstrate that participatory music has a powerful effect on our mental health. For people with dementia, for example, group singing can significantly decrease symptoms of depression. For disadvantaged adults, those who might be homeless, for example, or living in poverty, choir singing can increase our psychological resources like social support and belonging. For those who give care to others, group singing can help people better cope with the burden of caring for a family member. And there are sustained benefits. A systematic review found that there are 600 different active ingredients by which musical activities affect health and well-being. So lots and lots of really interesting and profound benefits here. Now I wanted to turn to a case study of music in difficult circumstances, and this is a case study from rural Bangladesh. This study is about a women's music group in a rural area in Bangladesh. So can we all access the chat function? Do we know how to do that? If we click on chat, I want to ask a question of you. In the chat, are you able to type a word or describe a challenge that women in your communities face? What's one of the challenges that particularly young women, for example, face in your communities? Please feel free to put your response into the chat. Thank you, Annika. Early marriage, very important. If you have another example, please put it in the chat. I'm here to learn from you too, so I'd love to hear about the challenges that young women face in your country and in your communities. Yes, family pressure. Thank you, Krishna. So this particular case study was conducted by an Australian music therapist called Lucy Bolger. And Lucy documented a women's music group in a rural Bangladesh women's refuge. So women who had experienced abandonment, abuse, and extreme social isolation. So we're talking about really difficult circumstances here. Trauma, disconnection, limited opportunities for self-expression for these women. Thank you, Kershida. Bad effect on education of conservative family conditions. Yes, very important. So let's look at this particular case and the power of cultural music for healing. In this refuge, a young mother named Gina had been resistant to participating in village activities, displaying what staff described in the refuge as challenging and provocative behaviour. Gina was struggling to adjust to communal life and had largely withdrawn from any social connection. When Gina finally decided to participate in the women's music group, something remarkable happened. Using traditional Bengali songs, the music of her culture, she began what the researcher described as an emotional singing session. Her eyes closed, she sang traditional melodies, rich with feeling, and the other women instinctively understood what was happening. As one woman told the facilitator, "Let her sing, she needs this." The group provided a safe space for Gina to process her emotions through her own cultural music, while other women offered support simply by listening and witnessing. This is an example of a community healing by using the tools that they already possessed. Over a period of 10 months, the women gradually took ownership of their music group. They began collecting keys and setting up the space for themselves, deciding the order of activities and who would lead, inviting special guests to join them, supporting each other through difficult times, including when a community member died. When a group of distinguished visitors came to the refuge, the women approached the music facilitator with hand-picked flowers and asked to invite the guests into their group. They had developed such ownership that they wanted to share their musical space with important visitors, showing how the group had become truly theirs. So the most important finding came when the outside facilitator left Bangladesh. Would the group survive? Would it continue? Well, a week after her departure, the researcher received a call from a visitor to the refuge who described witnessing the women holding a music session completely independently. They had invited guests to join them, they sang, they danced together, and they continued singing even when the power went out, creating music together in the darkness. So the group had become self-sustaining because it was built on their own cultural foundation and their own ever-developing leadership. So that's the first case study that I wanted to share for you. The second one is about youth empowerment through song. And again, it's a study that was conducted in rural Bangladesh. Researchers followed girls participating in what they called song schools in rural Bangladesh over several years. These girls faced tremendous pressure for early marriage, limited educational opportunities, and restricted voices in family decisions. So exactly the things that you've identified in the chat. But something remarkable happened when the girls who continued singing. They found that the girls who remained in these song schools were more likely to resist early marriage pressure. Singing provided them with what researchers called a capacity to aspire, the ability to imagine a different future for themselves. The voice expressed through singing became an anchor that helped them to negotiate family and social pressures. And those who had lost access to singing often lost their platform to resist harmful cultural practices. And there's one story in particular that I wanted to share. One girl, Sultana, described how when her father decided to marry her off due to poverty, she found the strength to say no. She'd been singing for 2 years, and despite weeks of family pressure, she refused to sacrifice her educational pursuits. And she told the researchers, actually, the marriage was decided by father, but I said no. And she credited her involvement in singing with giving her the voice and the confidence to resist. And so this particular research revealed a really clear pattern. Those girls who were still singing were typically not married early, while those who had stopped singing had often been forced into early marriage. The researchers concluded that the voice expressed in singing becomes an anchor in their lives, and to lose the position in the song school is to lose a place of new possibilities and a platform to aspire from. So when young people find their voices through music and singing, they become capable of challenging harmful practices and imagining a better future for their communities. So just take a moment to reflect on how might this apply to the challenges that young people face in your communities. What harmful practices or limited opportunities could music help them to resist or overcome? So these studies show that participatory music builds individual resilience through cultural connection and emotional expression. It develops leadership capacity as participants take ownership of their groups and their own lives. Participatory music creates sustainable change that continues even when guest facilitators or researchers leave. It empowers youth voices to challenge harmful practices and aspire to better futures. And it works through existing cultural strengths rather than imposing outside solutions. And this to me seems like exactly the kind of evidence-based, culturally grounded approach that aligns with your organisation's mission of youth-led community development. Okay, so let's move away from the case studies and think more broadly now about your own community and the role of participatory music. We mentioned mental health and suicide prevention. So the traditional approach there is, like I said, individual counselling or group therapy or perhaps antidepressants, that type of thing. If we take a participatory music approach, we create regular community singing gatherings where people can share traditional songs or modern songs. It doesn't really matter what the music is, as long as people enjoy the songs. They can share stories and emotions. They can express these emotions through music. They can build social connections and strengthen them naturally. It reinforces cultural identity, and hope and meaning are cultivated collectively. So for community development as well, the traditional approach might be to have a bunch of meetings, to run workshops or training sessions, that sort of thing. But if we take a more creative approach and involve music making, we can use singing to build trust at the start of a community project. We can use singing or music making to create a sense of shared identity and ownership around common goals. We can celebrate milestones and achievements through music. We can process challenges and setbacks together through music. And we can maintain connections between formal meetings. And finally, for something like climate action, which is a really, really important issue in your country, the traditional approach is scientific evidence, obviously, which is really important, educating people about the risks, advocating for policy change, and technical solutions. But music has a role to play here as well. We can use traditional weather songs, for example, to discuss and educate about climate patterns. We can create new songs that talk about environmental protection. We can build emotional resilience in our communities through collective expression about the issues around climate change. And we can strengthen our community bonds so that we can come together to take action. So in the chat, out of those three things that I've just mentioned, so I mentioned community development, climate action, and mental health and suicide prevention. For you personally in your immediate community, what's the most important issue for you? Could you share that with me so I can get a sense of that in the chat? And I hope that these issues are relevant to what you're working towards as an organisation. Thanks, Annika. Community development, that's great. Climate change songs and mental health, fantastic. Thanks, Kashida. Great. These are all really, really important and complex issues, and I want to congratulate you and encourage you to keep working towards finding solutions that involve young people, because these issues affect you the most. Okay, I wanted to move on to addressing some challenges to implementing the type of approach that I'm talking about here, a more creative approach, where we might involve music making or singing in these really big, complex, important issues. So some of you might be thinking, but I'm not a musician. I don't really know how to do this. I want to remind you that we all have a birthright to participate in music. Some of us will feel more drawn to this approach than others, and that's fine. If this approach to community development and all of these other really important issues is something that resonates with your skill set and your interests, then I really encourage you to explore this further. Another challenge can be that some people might think this sounds like feel-good activity. It sounds a little bit light and fluffy, but it's not really serious community work. Well, the evidence disagrees with that stance. So a comprehensive UK government analysis found that for every £1 invested in community arts programs in the UK, the health and social benefits delivered between £68 and £1,310 per person every year. The total societal benefits ranged from £18.5 million to £8 billion annually, including improved quality of life, healthcare cost savings, and increased productivity. So these are really, really significant savings by taking this type of approach. In Australia, Community Music Victoria has demonstrated that targeted investment in participatory music experiences returns at least $2 for every $1 invested. This isn't just about feeling good, it's about measurable economic health outcomes. And the final challenge I want to address is that we might think, well, we don't have the resources to start something like this. And to that I say, you already have the most important resource, and it's the same resource that Sultana had in our case study and Gina. It's your voice. Community singing requires no instruments. It requires no particularly special spaces or equipment. It requires only people willing to gather and share their voices together. So, what are your next steps as the next generation of leaders in your country? Let's make this real. The evidence is clear, and I think the stories are compelling. But the question remains, how do you turn this into specific action in your context? I wanted to share with you a framework that can help guide you in this journey. The framework is called the Innate Framework, and I have linked to it. I've referred to it in a list of references that I'm happy to share with everybody. So this framework identifies the key elements that make music programs successful, and they are project, people, and context. So they're kind of the big picture themes. Project, people, and context. So let's have a look at each one of those things. In terms of our project, you might just start with something really simple. Like, for example, at your future meetings, you might have someone like Tanisha sing a song, or you might want to sing something together, incorporated into your business as usual. You can use familiar songs that everybody knows, folk songs, national songs, or something that's popular at the moment. And then you might think to expand into other areas of music. And in terms of the resources, well, like I've said, you already have everything that you need to do this, and that is your voice. Zero budget, which is always nice to hear. In terms of people, we want to work with our communities, not for them. We want to work with the types of music and singing and songs that they already know and enjoy. In terms of leadership, youth can lead these types of activities, or you can use it as an opportunity to develop your leadership skills simply through the doing. In terms of support, partner with existing community and music organisations. You don't have to do this alone. And then to the final area, the context that you're working in. Use accessible spaces, community centres, schools, homes, places where people perhaps are already gathering. You can connect with local health services or other educational institutions and design programs that can continue without you. Get people started and let them take charge of this activity. So there's some immediate actions that you can take. You can think about who in your network might be able to benefit from this. Is there somebody that you know already that has musical skills who you might want to talk to about doing something? Start that conversation. And then once you've done those kind of initial investigations, you might want to run a little pilot test where you organise something really low stakes with friends and families just to see how it goes. So what I'm encouraging you to do here is just to start with something really, really small. Think about the ways that you can weave music making into the work that you're already doing. And don't hesitate to use this as an opportunity to really develop your leadership skills. So I mentioned some of the kind of common challenges or obstacles before. Things like we don't have funding. Well, it's really easy to start this without any resources. In terms of the musical expertise, we can teach each other this kind of thing. We can keep it really simple and use skills that we already have in terms of our communication skills, for example. You can also use freely available online resources on leading singing groups. There's quite a bit of information out there these days about this. Finally, I wanted to address the issue that some people might think, well, our communities are facing really serious problems and this seems like too much of a simple fix. And I want to say to that most effective interventions are actually quite simple. I'm not saying that this is a one stop shop and this is going to cure every ill in society, but it should be part of our plan. It doesn't compete with other services, it can enhance them, so it's a complement to other services. In terms of building your musical leadership skills, if you're interested, create the safe space for people to feel like they can experiment and make noise and look a little bit silly and make mistakes, and for that to be okay. Be culturally responsive and understand how music traditions may vary across different communities. Develop basic skills in managing group dynamics and encouraging people who might be a little bit reluctant to actually participate. And then, like I said before, connect with health workers or educators, community leaders. We're much stronger together. Okay, so here's the big vision. Music as part of our community health infrastructure. Imagine a Bangladesh where every community health program included some kind of musical component. Imagine youth organisations like Pranobonto having singing as standard part of your programming. Imagine traditional music becomes a bridge between generations and a tool for healing. And imagine where community resilience is built through shared cultural expression. This is about recognising that social health is just as important as physical health, and that the tools for building it already exist in our communities. So I want us all to stop thinking about music as entertainment, just for the talented few, and start treating it as an essential part of infrastructure for community health, just like clean water, education, good healthcare. Some countries are already doing this. So in the United Kingdom, doctors prescribe community choir participation for depression and anxiety and social isolation. And in my country, Australia, there is growing interest in what we call these social prescribing programs that include things like musical participation. So my catch cry, my slogan, if you like, is that we need to make music that matters. And today, I hope that you've discovered that music can matter and operate at a number of different levels. Music can matter to you because it improves your health and your well-being. It can matter to others in our communities because it creates this sense of genuine connection and belonging. It matters to your communities because it's a powerful medicine for social health. And it matters to your society because it builds the resilient, connected communities that we so desperately need. Your voices are needed and your communities are waiting for you. So the songs of resilience, hope, and connection are ready and waiting to be sung. So the question isn't whether you can sing well enough. You definitely can. The question isn't whether this works because the evidence, the research is very clear. The question is simply, will you accept the invitation to make music that matters in your communities? So I wanted to end my presentation with a final blessing to you all, and I'm going to actually sing it for you. So Koshida mentioned that I have a singing group here for people with Parkinson's disease. And at the end of our sessions, we always sing this very short blessing. Go now in peace, go now in peace. Joy and hope and love surround you everywhere, everywhere you may go. Thank you so much for listening. This is a list of all of the references that I've spoken about in our presentation today, and I will share with CFAT a publicly available link to this presentation slide. So if people want to look up any of the references, they can. And then finally, I just wanted to share with you a couple of things. I have a podcast where I talk with music leaders about the work that they are doing in the community. And so that's a really great learning resource for people who might be interested in using this type of approach in your community development work. So that podcast is called Leading Notes, and I have a QR code there for you to link straight through to that podcast. I would love for you to have a listen to those interviews. It is in English, but I think they are still really worth having a listen to and very instructive. And then finally, I know probably most of you are too young for LinkedIn. I know Sifat has some problems with this, but if you are on LinkedIn or on LinkedIn at any time in the future, I would love to connect with you and to stay connected. So thank you very much for listening. I really appreciated the invitation to come and talk to you all. I think what you're doing is amazing. It's just so inspiring to see young people so motivated and active and really caring about the future of their community. So well done to all of you too. Thank you.
We're really honored to have you with us, Professor Forbes. And thank you for giving us this opportunity to learn from you. And can we request a Q&A session? Because maybe some of our Pranobonto members want to ask some questions. Would you like to answer?
Yes, of course. I'm happy to answer any questions that anyone has. And if you feel
Before that, I want to just yes, before the Q&A session, I just want to my heartfelt gratitude to Professor Dr. Melissa Forbes. It was really a helpful presentation for us because we are going to take something like this kind of initiative soon from Pranobonto Bangladesh, and we really need to support from you. And I will send you an email, by the way. So. I'm really it was really honor for us to have this session and plenty of love from Bangladesh. Can we round of applause virtually for her?
Thank you, Sifat. Thank you so much, everyone. Oh, look at that. That's great. Thank you. That's lovely.
And I'm really warmly invite you to Bangladesh. Please visit us.
Oh, thank
See
you.
the culture and heritage of Bangladesh.
Yes, I
Thank
would
you.
love to. I would love to learn a lot more about your culture and your heritage. Thank you, Sifat. Thank you. I thought someone had their hand up, but it's disappeared. Yes, Shabal.
Hi, Professor.
Hello.
It was a very nice experience to get the all information and you provided through this presentation. I am also a musician from Bangladesh, and I also use music to develop the communities and also love to use music to eradicate the mental health or suicidal issues among the youth. I taught university students on how to create music from anything. And beside this, I also taught some remote areas youth on
Shabal, Chabal, I'm finding some of it hard to hear. It's not very clear.
How
It's breaking up a
to
little
create
bit.
music and tell their own community
You can
stories
write in the
and
chat
how
if you want.
solve problem of climate
Hmm.
is through music. It was a nice experience, but my question is, you raised some issues that music is using for our mental health issues. For it's a great medicine. I also believe, because I am also a musician.
Hmm.
So, what my question is, uh,
You've gone on mute. And Shaba,
appreciate
before you start, could you just
of
before
this
you start, I
program,
can't
there
hear you
is
very
a
well.
music we have played
Mm.
by which is composed by Mr. Dijendra Roy, Dhono Dhanne Pushpe Bhora. So that song
Oh, now what's happened to him? I think Shaba's gone.
Uh,
Sorry, Sifat.
Pavel, you can write in the chat.
Yeah, I was really struggling to hear. It was breaking up quite a bit, so it was a bit difficult. But
No, but
if there's a
I have
question,
a question, by the way.
yes, sure, go ahead.
Yes, yeah. I have a question is that in your research, you often connect singing with well-being, right? So
Yes.
what is the most powerful example you have seen where singing transforms someone's health
Mm.
or social life?
I think there's a few powerful examples from the group that I work with Parkinson's disease. So we have people come along to that group who have very severe Parkinson's, but they also come along usually with their spouse who is their carer. And if you don't know much about Parkinson's, the really important thing to know about that disease is that it's very socially isolating. So people find it very difficult to leave the house. They don't want to socialize. They don't want to, do social things. But people have found that coming to the group can really help to kind of take the place of their previous social activities, to the point where we've lost a number of people in the group to Parkinson's. They've passed away, died, and their spouse still comes to the group. And to me, that says a lot about the value of singing for well-being. So that would be an example. But thank you for the question, Sifat. Kushida.
Yeah, I have a question that is, I know that many of our village girls face bipolar disorder, and is there anything like particularly I can suggest them involving singing or making songs, like how they can express themselves?
Mm.
What is the activity I can suggest them?
I think it's important first, before I say anything about that, that if people have diagnosed mental illness, then they do need to seek treatment in the traditional sense. So that would be, in my country, seeing a medical professional, such as a
Yeah, but
psychiatrist.
in
And
our case, really, like they don't go to the therapist.
right,
They even don't know about bipolar disorder, but many of the local research group and NGOs find that they have the symptoms of bipolar disorder,
right,
but they don't know that.
right. Yeah, so you're asking what would be an activity for them in particular. The same as anyone else, really, and that would be to try to find out what type of music interests them or what they like. So they might like a particular artist, for example, or they might like a particular style of music. So try to connect with them in that way. And then you might choose a song by somebody that they really like and you could sing that together. But I think it's important to find out what interests them. rather than coming along with a bunch of ideas of things that you think they might like. Do you know what I mean? So letting them drive the process of choice, I think, is a really good place to start. Another activity, and this may be a little bit more advanced, I guess, for somebody who has some musical training, but it might be to get them to tell their story through music. So writing lyrics for a song, for example. But that can be a little bit more challenging for someone who wants to lead a session like that and doesn't really have the skills or the experience in songwriting. But the reason I keep coming back to singing is it's so easy for everybody to give it a go, unless you don't have a voice, unless you are, unless you're deaf or something like that. But even deaf people can participate. It's something that everybody can have a go at. So I think trying to find out, and this is really a good rule of thumb for everybody, when you're working with communities, try to find out what they like and start there. Yeah.
Yeah, I get that.
Good question, Kushta. Thank you. Sharbal is back. You've got your hand up.
Yes, am I
Can I
audible
just,
now?
before you start, I'm finding your sound very difficult to, so let's just see how we go. And if I can't hear your question, could you put it in the chat for me? So make
Uh,
sure that I actually answer it.
sure. Am I audible now?
It's much better actually at the moment. Yeah.
Okay, so my question was answered in the previous conversation. I have a second question that
Mm-hmm.
there are some options at present with this advanced technology that we can create music through artificial
Mm,
intelligence like Suno AI or etc. opportunities. So what do you prefer? Creating music in a traditional way, like playing some instruments
mm.
or playing some drumming elements, etc., or creating music just on a just click on some virtual devices. So, what is the most effective way to
Yeah.
overcome this kind of mental challenges you have mentioned? Thank
Yeah.
you.
Thanks. That's an excellent question. I think artificial intelligence provides both really amazing opportunities for us, but also great threats. So I think that if someone is simply sitting at their computer using artificial intelligence to create songs for themselves or create music, that's fine. And that's something that they might enjoy doing. But they're not necessarily going to get the benefits of the social connection that I've talked about so much in this presentation. And so to really benefit in terms of building relationships with other people, you need to get into the room with other people. You need to be in the same physical space, I think. Now, having said that, there's probably a place for artificial intelligence. In the previous example that I was just speaking about with Kushida, for example, if you don't have the background or the experience in songwriting, but you want to try and reach those girls with bipolar, you could still use artificial intelligence in some way to actually help you do that, and to get you started. And you could get it to create some kind of backing track in a style that someone really likes. And then you could just simply work on writing lyrics together, for example. So I think that artificial intelligence can be a great tool for particularly for people who may not have formal training in music, but still want to give it a go and still want to use it as a tool in their toolkit. But I think, Shaibal, in terms of, the well-being effects, that's really going to come from being in a room with other people rather than just purely using the technology. I hope that answers the question.
Yes, it was nicely answered. I also believe that I actually cross-checking my ideas with you. Thank you
Oh,
so much.
good. Excellent. Good to hear. Thanks so much. Do you have any other questions? This has been a great session. I'm really pleased that we had so many questions and really excellent questions as well. I think that might be it for the questions, Kushida.
Yes. Okay. I don't think anyone is up for any question more.
No. If anyone does have further questions, they can certainly email me. I'll put my email in the chat. Happy to answer any questions offline. So I'll just do that now. And thanks once again for everybody being here and having this wonderful discussion.
Okay, how can I access your papers on singing?
Yeah, so if some of the papers that I've referred to in the presentation are open access. So in particular, the innate framework that I referred to is open access, which means that it's freely available. However, if there is a particular paper in the reference list or of mine that you would be interested in, most of my papers are available on ResearchGate, which is where you can get papers for free directly from the researchers. So if you look me up on ResearchGate, you will be able to request a copy of my papers as well.
Really appreciate. We'll have a look at that.
Great.
So thank you. Thanks a lot, Professor Melissa. We will stay in touch with you and we will take an initiative soon. So
Thank you.
that's it, I think.
That's great.
Thank you.
Thanks, everyone. I really appreciate your interest and all the best with your work. Thank you very much.
Bye-bye.
That's great. Thank you. Love the love hearts. Thanks, everyone. Bye-bye. Stay in touch.